Hey, welcome. Have you ever, really stopped to think about where you get the energy to do, well, anything? To think, to move, just to be alive? It turns out that at the very heart of it all, life is just this incredible game of converting energy. And today, we're going to dive deep into the two powerhouse processes that make it all happen.
And you know what? It all kicks off with the sun. I love this cartoon because it just nails it, right? Aw, Mom, sunlight again. For a plant, sunlight literally is dinner. They're the original solar-powered factories, grabbing energy from the sun and packing it into food that pretty much everything else on the planet can eat. This one simple, brilliant trick, it's the foundation for almost all life as we know it.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First up, we'll meet life's ultimate power couple. Then, we'll check out the sugar factory. That's part one. Part two is the power plant. After that, we'll zoom in on the two tiny organelles where all the action happens. And finally, we'll see how it all connects in this amazing energy exchange.
All right, let's dive in. So every living thing runs on energy, right? But here's the thing, it's not that simple. It's kind of like how you can't just pour crude oil into your car's gas tank and expect it to run. A cell can't just chow down on a sugar molecule and immediately get stuff done. That energy has to be converted into a form it can actually spend. And that spendable form? It's this incredible little molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Seriously, the best way to think about ATP is like cash for the cell. If a muscle needs to contract, it pays with ATP. A grain cell needs to fire a signal. ATP. Pumping stuff in and out, you guessed it, the cell pays the toll with ATP. It is the universal currency for getting work done inside a cell.
So if ATP is the cash, you gotta ask, where does the bank get the money? Well, first, that energy has to be captured and stored somewhere safe. And that is the whole job of photosynthesis. You can think of it as a solar-powered factory that takes the scattered energy of sunlight and locks it up tight inside the chemical bonds of a sugar molecule. It's basically making a long-term deposit into life's energy bank.
And here's the actual recipe. It looks complicated, but it's really not. On the left, you've got the ingredients. 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, the stuff we breathe out, plus 6 molecules of water, and of course, energy from sunlight. The plant works its magic, and boom! Out comes 1 molecule of glucose. That's our energy savings account, and 6 molecules of oxygen, which, is a pretty fantastic byproduct for those of us who like to breathe.
Now, this whole thing doesn't just happen in one go. It's a two-step process. The first part is called the light-dependent reactions. This is where the chloroplast literally captures the solar energy. Think of it like charging of a battery. Then, in part two, the light-independent reactions, also called the Krebs Cycle, the cell uses the power from that charged battery to actually build the glucose molecule. So step one, capture the power. Step two, use the power to build the sugar.
Yeah, this cartoon really brings it all together, doesn't it? You see the inputs right there. Water coming up from the roots, CO2 from the air, light from the sun, and then you see the outputs, the oxygen that gets released, and the glucose, the sugar that the plant now has stored up for energy. It's a perfect little summary.
Okay, so the factory has done its job. The energy is now locked away in that glucose molecule. So, now what? How do we, and hey, plants too, actually get that energy out so we can use it? Well, that brings us to part two of our story, the power plant. This is cellular respiration, and it's all about cashing in that sugar for some usable ATP. Now, take a close look at this reaction. Does that look a little familiar to you? It should. We start with our glucose molecule and some oxygen. The cell systematically breaks them down, and what comes out? Carbon dioxide, water, and, here's the whole point, a ton of that spendable energy in the form of ATP. And just like photosynthesis, this is a multi-step operation. It kicks off with glycolysis, which literally just means splitting the sugar. That happens right in the cell's cytoplasm. Then we move into the Krebs cycle, which keeps breaking things down and harvesting all these high-energy electrons. And for the grand finale, we have the electron transport chain. This is where those high-energy electrons get cashed in for a massive, massive payout of ATP. So what are we talking about, payout-wise? Well, from just one of those glucose molecules that the plant made, the cell can squeeze out roughly 36 ATP molecules. 36, that is an absolutely incredible return on investment. It's like putting $1 in a machine and getting $36 back in spendable cash. It's just wildly efficient.
Okay, so these two epic processes, photosynthesis and respiration, they don't just happen floating around anywhere inside the cell. Nope. They take place in these highly specialized little compartments, these organelles that are built for one purpose. So let's zoom in and see exactly where all this magic is happening. And here they are, our two main arenas. On the left, you've got the chloroplast. These are the little green solar panels inside plant cells, and they're the exclusive home of photosynthesis. And on the right, you've got the mitochondrion, the one you've probably heard of, the powerhouse of the cell. This is where cellular respiration goes down. And you find these in pretty much all complex cells, including both plants and animals. Yeah, plants have them too.
This little table just lays it all out nice and clean. The chloroplast's whole deal, photosynthesis, capturing energy. It takes in CO2, water, and light, and it spits out glucose and oxygen. The mitochondrion, its job is cellular respiration, releasing that energy. It takes in the glucose and oxygen and spits out ATP, CO2, and water. You starting to see the beautiful pattern here? And this brings us to the big reveal, the grand finale. We've been talking about these two things like they're separate stories, right? The sugar factory and the power plant. But the most important thing to understand, the whole point really, is that they aren't separate stories at all. They are two halves of the same story.
It's this absolutely perfect, elegant cycle. Think about it. Photosynthesis makes the very things, glucose and oxygen, that cellular respiration needs to get started. And then cellular respiration makes the very things, carbon dioxide and water, that photosynthesis needs to get started. The output of one is the input of the other. They literally feed each other.
And here it is. This is the money shot. Just look at those two equations side by side. They are almost perfect, reverse, mirror images of each other. What photosynthesis creates, respiration uses, and what respiration creates, photosynthesis uses. It's this beautiful, incredible symmetry that drives the entire flow of energy through basically every ecosystem on this planet. It's just awesome. So what does all this mean for you right now? Well, the next time you take a deep breath, just think about it. The oxygen filling your lungs was probably released by a plant, maybe even recently. And the next time you eat an apple or a piece of bread, the energy in that food was literally forged by sunlight. You, right now, are a living, breathing part of this global energy